Well, and that's the way that's how human brains work and
Yeah,
human physiology works, is that you
right,
could have a 2-second interaction with somebody that could never be replicated on a
right.
computer, and it doesn't need to be.
Welcome to Disrupted Science, the occasional conversation between the authors of the upcoming book, How the Internet Disrupted Science, now available for pre-order. I'm Kent Anderson here with my co-author Joy Moore, and today is Wednesday, February 4th, 2026. Hey, Joy.
Hey, Kent, how's it going?
It's cold. I'm so
Uh,
tired of it being cold.
oh, is it Diet Coke exploding cold
I know we found out that's
that
a meteorological phenomenon we've both experienced.
we both have that in common? It's
My
crazy.
my wife was wondering why I was pulling the Diet Cokes in from the garage where we stored the,
Hmm.
the warehouse of them,
Yeah.
where we warehouse them. And I said, "You don't remember last year when they exploded and during this cold snap?" And she's like, "Oh, that's right." So,
Yeah.
what's odd though is that we also have bottled waters out there because we're horrible human beings,
Hmm.
but they have a
And you buy
purpose. So
plastic.
and
Yeah.
we buy plastic and we also consume air and stuff. So we're just horrible. But anyhow, we have those. Those don't freeze.
No, there's something about the
It's
Diet Coke that's specific.
I think it's the carbonation.
It's the
It
carbonation,
has more air in
and
it
it explodes. So
and it explodes. It's so awesome
yeah, and
and
I've had
messy.
I've had the opposite. So both time I've had exploding beverages was when I was house sitting for
Oh
friends.
no.
So one was the frozen Diet Coke, but the other was the homebrew beer in the summertime.
What? Oh,
And that exploded
that's
in the
all sorts of
heat.
bad. Was it where was it in the house or garage or
Well, no, it was
basement?
so it was a top floor apartment
Okay.
under a sunroof, and
Right.
yeah, I was just there to feed the cat, and there was exploded beer. The other place, I was just there to feed the cat, and there was exploded Diet Coke.
So did the beer involve glass too?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, you got
It's
the
all very
full.
dangerous.
Oh, very nice. I hope the cat survived.
Anyway, no, the cat was fine.
Cat was
But
drunk when
maybe,
you got
but,
there.
but yeah, but maybe nobody should invite me to house sit for them.
That's right. There's a correlation and causation are possible here. uh,
Anyway, but yeah, it's warming up down here. It's gonna get up to 50, and all the kids
oh,
are going
stop
back
it.
to school, and
Stop it.
you know,
Stop it. Stop it.
things like
Can't hear
that.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've still got 20 some inches of snow on the ground and ice all over the place, but that's okay because, that's reality and we're going to talk about that today. But
Yeah.
we were talking earlier today about all sorts of crazy stuff. So do you want to dive right in or do you want to talk about any craziness before we get to the main event?
Well, I think the first craziness, just to get it out of the way, because it's been going back and forth on the text chains and things like that, and
Hmm.
I can't. And it was on Hard Fork today. They did a special episode. What the heck is this Molt book? What is it?
I know. So it's like archive on social media.
Uh-huh.
And so, again, there's it's all these recycled tech ideas. Like tech just has run out of ideas. So now they're hybridizing them, right? So it's like, okay, we have AI, we have social media, let's put them together and see if anything happens, and maybe we'll get emergent into intelligence because there was intelligence in either of those. There's not. There's programming, and you're just going to get programming that does stuff maybe. But in any event, so it's this AI based social network that you can has supposedly agentic AI talking to other agentic AI and blah blah blah. But Wired had a really good story, and we'll put a link in the show notes to this about a human who went in and got another AI to show her. I think the journalist was female, but so I'll say her how to infiltrate Moltbook and disguise herself as an agent, and wrote the script for her to do that. I mean, it's just insanity, right? You get a flavor right there. So she goes in and tries to start a cult But the agentic AIs are so stupid and they're so already captured by commercial dark web commercial interests like Bitcoin. They're trying to sell each other Bitcoin. I mean,
Yeah.
it's basically a slum of social media bots trying to sell each other drugs, AI drugs, and it's just and do AI
Yeah.
transactions. It's just very
Well, it
quickly
it
went
it
from
sounds like
high
the
aspirations to low seamy stuff,
it sounds like the worst version of what was the original one called? Second Life.
Oh,
Uh
right.
and then the metaverse, and now
Right.
it's just like
Yeah, it's just getting
it's the same thing. Okay.
yeah, it's just but it's even garbage, more garbage.
More
Because
garbagey.
all it is
But
garbage talking to garbage and
right, but the
so
fact that we're even talking about it is because there's an AI component to it.
yeah,
Where
right.
otherwise, like the other ones were just for the dorks to stay in dork world, and now we need to know
Hey,
about this.
hey, let's be nice to the dorks. Okay. Our friends that stand up for science like
That's
dorks.
true. Sorry, I
Yeah.
I misused that word.
Yeah. We always love Colette always comes out with, "Hey dorks, get ready dorks." And where I'm like I love that. I just think that's beautiful and catches your attention and has the right feel to it. So, we're all for dorks. We aren't for fake dorks.
No,
We're all for real
definitely.
dorks.
Yeah.
So,
Well, speaking of real, what we're talking about today is real talk. And
yeah,
we're going to get into digital fantasy versus non-digital reality. So why don't you
sounds
kick
good.
us off?
Let's do it. So earlier this week, Ben Collins, the owner of The Onion, was interviewed on Kara Swisher's On podcast. And it was a great episode.
Really good. Yeah.
Those two really are hit it off and for a lot of good reasons. But the interview raised some questions that you and I batted around pretty immediately about the digital information age, how we in scientific publishing have handled it so far, and kind of this collision of artificial world that everybody looking at screens gets immersed in so much and actual reality. So, a little
Hmm.
bit of background on Collins. He's from Massachusetts. His mother's a librarian, and he initially pursued a sports journalism career. In 2024, he became the CEO of a company called Global Tetrahedron, which purchased The Onion. He wanted to
Hmm.
rescue it from being purchased by Elon Musk, Epstein files, and becoming an AI slop farm. And so, it's been a great thing. So one thing that he's talked about and is kind of how careful they are in their work at the Onion. Like
Yeah.
they take a beat and all of that. But also he's also attempting to buy InfoWars from Alex Jones, mainly to make sure the victims of the various misinformation campaigns and depredations of Alex Jones get awarded money from all the court cases that have gone against him. But the main thing was that the interview touched on core differences in the media space that I had kind of been pondering beforehand. Why the fake media space is currently thriving, but seems to be starting to crack under the strain, while a separate reality-based media space seems to be growing stronger and more interesting and relevant by the day. What does this mean? What does it mean for platforms of both kind of the abstract variety, like in media institutions, which are crumbling, versus platforms like technology platforms? What does it mean for scientific publishing? Where does it fit in now? And are we indulging unscientific fantasies of our own? And why is it so much more fun to do what you and I do, to be in the reality based world, than to be playing footsie with AI and
Hmm.
Moltbook? So that was kind of the genesis of this, and it's just going to be kind of a discussion today. You and I trying to
Hmm.
piece this together and figure it out. So, what do you think of all that? And you listened to the episode a couple of times. It's really good. I'm going to listen to it again too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, it's really good. And he's a breath of fresh air. He's playing offense and defense in a way that's that's pretty impressive. And by having a background in journalism, he spoke to a lot of the things that he recognizes with his journalist, former colleagues is you're either trying to keep your job or trying or going out on your own. But it's hard to kind of play in between. And
Hmm.
so a lot of the what so-called mainstream media is just self-preservation, um, as opposed to what it was set out to be. And he's using the onion to, make fun of everybody, but in a very thoughtful, um, and kind of putting a mirror up to society way.
Yeah. And it's interesting. He mentioned that advertisers are rushing to the Onion
Hmm.
because they can actually speak normally there, right?
Yeah.
They they want their brands to be able to talk normal, as he said, talk normal or be funny or whatever. And everyone
Right.
else is relying on AI and it's messing everything up and it's not normal. And the advertisers are like, no, we want to communicate, say things to our customers, and your venue is like they come in with a clear head and you keep their heads can stay clear. And the other quote I wanted to relay was, I thought this was great. So he was talking about how their print edition is up to 65,000 paid and
Hmm.
65,001 after this interview. Because he made a lot of great points about why print is still so darned effective, because of the constraints actually help information and support it. But anyhow, he said, right now people get their information in the most base and stupid ways possible. We're all competing with people who seem to drink paint for a living. There's a reason the Washington Post is going to die before the Onion becomes one of the biggest newspapers in the country. It's because they licked the boot and we kicked back. And I think that's like he actually said that the Onion's paid subscription base is on track to eclipse the Washington Post's
Yeah.
this
That's
year. So,
amazing.
and it
Yeah.
is amazing, but it shows that, like, again, if you're just in there's kind of this meta bubble of digital imagination, right? Everybody thinks
Hmm.
everything's happening online. But when you pop out of that and you look around, it's like there's tons more that's happening not online. And you look at where things, are changing. We have a little section in the book about catch basins.
Hmm.
And when Google had a controversy about paying off the founder of Android after sexual harassment claims, Google had all these tools inside to let people vent. And they wore themselves out. And they realized that they needed to actually go out on the street and march
Mm.
because these digital catch basins are not helping to change things. What's changing things are thousands of people marching through the streets or just being out and being with other people, right?
Hmm. I hadn't thought of it that way, that the digital catch basins are like it's confusing people into staying in their own lanes
Yeah, it's
in
wearing
a
them
way.
out. I
Yeah.
think I think it wears them out, and then they think they've done something, right?
Hmm.
Oh, I just mic dropped on, on Trump or Stephen Miller or whoever,
Yeah, but that's just
or
a
I just
click and
liked
then
20 things, and man,
yeah.
look at my power. But if you actually go out and you know walk with other people and make common cause with them, that's a very different sort of
Hmm.
power. And being in this media bubble is, we're almost in a media bubble all the time. So anyhow, it's just a very interesting
Yeah.
type of thing.
And one of
So
the other aspect I really appreciated about him talking about the print edition is that is the context within which their writing is meant to be read,
mhm.
is is on a page in, conjunction with something else that's on a page, and you pick it up and you read it and you get it because it's in context. It's been specifically written and typeset for you to use your human eyeballs to read it in this paper context.
Right.
And that reminds me a lot of, the community-based print journals
Hmm.
that there's a reason why the table of contents is in the order that it is in. There's a reason why that ad is next to that article or not next
Or
to a
not. Right.
different article. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, the
and
other
and
interesting, oh, sorry, go ahead.
and then just but he's also I appreciated he's like, I'm not this guy who's trying to tell you to go back, like turn the time clock back and listen to
Mhm.
everything on vinyl. It's just understanding like there's a digital space and there's a print space and they
Well, and
both
he also
occupy
said
their
the
own.
demographics of
Yeah.
his readership is young, like 13,
Yeah.
14-year-olds, high school students, and the parents are stealing the paper from them.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is not one of those things where you're going to stereotype the Onion into being in print because it's going to oldsters. It's in print because young people are treating it like their Mad magazine or their Cracked magazine or something like that. It's their, it's their source of fun and subversion and humor and reality. It's a reality check because that's again how he talked about their editorial approach. You know, is the writers are some of the best. They work in a community together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bouncing ideas off each other. And they take a beat until they find the line, the headline, or the takeaway that is just going to be hilarious and spot on, right? So they work at
Yeah.
really refining it. So that's part of the magic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that for us, that runs very counter to where scientific publishing is these days, which is let's just get more out there,
More
not
and
take a lot
more.
of time with anything, not really cone it down, and not be very like, you know, less would be a terrible thing. But what the Onion is showing is that less is more,
Mm-hmm. And
and
it's profitable.
it's profitable if you because everything that's profitable is based on expenses scale, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think the AI companies are going to find out pretty soon that you can't run expenses forever at that level,
I
you know.
don't.
But everything is finite, everything's measurable. Pluses and
Hmm.
minuses have to wash out at some point and come out in the positive way. So they're not huge, but they're big enough to be
Hmm.
profitable and they're good enough to be growing. And that's all you really need as a business, right?
Yeah. And that's a the do less notion is something that is getting some traction, especially in the last couple weeks.
Hmm.
We wrote about it last week. It was one thing that you can do in scientific publishing to, protest things that you don't like is don't contribute to companies that you don't appreciate or that don't stand for the things that you believe in.
Right.
And that's something that, we picked up from Scott Galloway. He's already turned within 1 week, he's turned it into a whole, you know, PR campaign.
Yeah.
Him and his new facelift and his new PR campaign, they're doing really
He's got
well,
a good team.
which is good. Yeah, which is really great. But it's the idea that you can contribute to good by not participating in things that you don't want to support.
Well, and this is one of the things I've always contended about the subscription model, which why it can be superior and is it actually gives customers leverage.
Yeah.
And you notice that what happened when Jimmy Kimmel got canceled was that everybody canceled their Hulus in protest, or enough people did,
Hmm.
that Disney said, "Oh, crud, the customers are revolting." Not in the sense that you would think, but they
Hmm.
have revolted, and we need to bring him back in order to keep our business afloat. So the customers have leverage, and I think that that's why the Onion uses it in the right way. But and what Scott Galloway has picked up on is that yeah, you can have leverage over these companies. They will take notice of even a 5% loss in subscribers will hurt them and make them worry. and
Hmm.
wake them up. And again, that gets back from, you know, trashing them on social media or whatever to actually taking a financial step and saying, I'm going to cancel my Apple TV because Tim Cook is, being a sycophant. So,
Hmm.
but yeah,
Have
so
you have you canceled anything in
I
protest?
did cancel Apple TV, and I think that's it. And I think Paramount Plus I did a while ago. But yeah,
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, I'm canceling things left and right.
Yeah, and I'm just using some things a lot less. Like I'm going local more and things like that because again, it's if you don't, if you don't put it, you know, if you don't walk the walk, then you're just talking the talk, and that's we've got too much of that in the digital space. So, but for scientific publishers, I think, the intrusion of like this fantasy, there's a lot of fantasy in scientific publishing
Hmm.
platforming right now, right? And the most pervasive and insidious one is the AI fantasy that Adam Becker outlined, which is, we're going to somehow get to the singularity if all this information is processed properly by artificial intelligence tools that are going to take us into the future in a way. And there was just a post about, or an article about, how everybody's a polymath now, thanks to AI. And
Yeah. What
it's
does that
so
mean?
unearned. It's just so unearned. I,
You sent
I,
me that article and I skimmed it, but what are they talking about?
well, now you don't have to learn how to be a sculptor. It's the Matrix idea, right? You can just plug into the Matrix and
Oh,
download what it means to be Michelangelo. And then all of a sudden your hands will have the kind of, and arms will have the strength, and you'll have the stamina, and you'll have the vision. Your eyes will work. It's like, it's so ridiculous.
so do
Nobody
you
really
think
understands. I think these people don't understand how to do anything.
is
They
that
only,
why do you
oh,
think that's
it's
why all
mad.
these physicists, computer programmers think that they can solve cancer?
Yeah, I think they have
Okay.
no experience. They think it's an intellectual challenge. They don't think that it's a real life challenge with patients who you know, are patients and people, and it's a complicated socioeconomic set of interlocked systems and genetics that are unpredictable and environmental factors you don't always understand and cells that we don't really understand. I mean, it's just so ignorant and arrogant at the same time. And that's why
Yeah.
reality is, I mean, that's why I wrote this week about a couple of things with JAMA and NEJM, which to me were like the cream of the crop epistemic brands in medicine. And now they've
Hmm.
fallen into the fantasy world trap, right? And it's sad because none of that is necessary or helpful, but it just shows how they've diverged from, they're playing it wrong in my view. They should be the counterweight to these things. So because every time you look at some sort of imaginary claim about, oh, cancer is going to be solved in 10 years through AI, well, go out to a real medical journal and try to read one of those articles, and even the experts are kind of like, no, it's not, no, it's not. That's not
Yeah.
real. That's imaginary. And to have AI systems plunked in the middle of reality like that, it's just
Hmm.
inviting more fantasies into a space that doesn't benefit from them.
Well, they're not only inviting more fantasies, they're inviting grifters
Hmm.
and anti-science propagandists into their
Yeah,
platforms. And so that's kind of where I stand on it, is you don't need to have these amplification listicles. You do not need to have an AI bot on top of your journal for your core journal audience. But you know who's going to use it? Are the people who are using science against science. And
yeah,
so it's just inviting the pirates into take over. And we've seen that time and time again for the last couple of years that since we've been working on this, right?
yeah.
Like, yeah, it's so funny that Kirk Milhoan is now
Oh
he
God.
made his way all the way to the CDC from being on Newsmax,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
just these people are using good science against good scientists in order to create terrible outcomes for public health.
Right. And
Um,
I would say they're using scientific publishing's current alignment with a fantasy world
mhm.
to drag it into a fantasy world they're creating in order to exploit populations in reality, right?
Yeah.
So they're spinning up these stories about like we saw, and this was kind of interesting how this all overlaps, right? So on the podcast that interviewed the guy from The Onion was
Hmm.
sponsored by Groons,
Yeah.
which is a supplement company that has a green stuffed bear as their chief scientist, chief
Yeah.
scientific officer. And they said, on what caught my ear on the podcast, is they said, as demonstrated by 35,000 clinical trials. And I'm like, okay, red flags, ahoy.
Yeah.
Because A, appeals to quantity are a red
Hmm.
flag when it comes to science.
Of course.
And B, if you know scientific publishing, no bleeping
That's
way.
that's not a thing.
That numbers crap. And then, okay, so then I go look and I'm expecting, like we see with AG1 and other supplement companies, it's all going to be pay to play, MDPI, frontiers, garbage
Hmm.
papers, right? Special issues and all that. They don't even bother with that now. They have a stuffed green bear
Uh-huh.
that's their chief scientific officer. And they just say, trust us, we did a lot of trials of this through a lab. And the guy's like a
Yeah.
VC guy from Colorado who is probably spends most of his time
Right.
skiing. I mean,
I'm sure
he has no
35,000
qualifications
35,000 people probably ate a gummy and didn't
and nobody
die.
died.
But it doesn't mean that
Hooray.
it should, replace the broccoli and carrots and other vegetables that you should eat. But that's a really good point. And as we're talking about the media space and how much media is consumed via podcasts and
Hmm.
newsletters, and when you're looking at the trust markers and the advertisers, they've really aligned in ways that don't make sense for a lot of the content.
Hmm.
I know a lot of the podcast hosts don't have any control over what brands are advertised. That's what's paying their bills and they need to get
Right.
paid. But then a lot of them do read it,
Yeah.
like yeah, and it's really insidious and it makes me crazy every time I hear a podcast talking about being upset with what's going on in the government, being upset with RFK Jr. spreading measles, and then in the next breath, they're reading an article or an ad for
Hmm.
a supplement that is probably backed by Peter Attia and
Right.
Mark Hyman,
Right.
and
Right.
it's like it's
Yeah.
like it's all munged together in like the most maddening way.
Well, this gets to one of the more interesting things that it would be interesting to, maybe I'll put a survey up on the Geyser about this because one of the things that Olivia and Iris talked about was big tech funding's not viewed as a conflict of interest, right?
Right?
And I think that that's an important thing to tease out now because big tech's the biggest business in the world right now. And now
Hmm.
you have big supplement, which is actually bigger than big pharma, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, like 3x.
Yeah, like 3x. And that's not viewed as a conflict of interest necessarily, right? So we need to wake up and update our conflicts of interest because having big tech on your platform or participating in big tech initiatives, maybe that's a conflict of interest. Maybe it's an bit of unreality you should excise in order to keep it real. Because I think that, and Skylar Hughes talks about it kind of being weird.
Yeah,
That's weird. Why,
it's
NEJM,
weird.
why do you have an AI companion on one of the top best human made journals in the world? That's weird.
Hmm.
That's bit of unreality that you don't need to be there. And,
Well,
the
I
whole,
think, yeah,
how
the
things are measured and chasing convenience over quality, all that kind of stuff. So,
But I think I like the way you spelled that out because big tech funding and big supplement funding are inextricably linked with big journal publishing.
Hmm.
And we can see that if you just look. And the disclosures are not there. The information is open. It's
Hmm.
all dumped into PubMed. And then you get a PubMed ID, and
Hmm.
therefore you are now, official. You're getting a DOI through Crossref, and but this is taken over, and like we talked about before, the BMJ did that really nice chart of all the tobacco companies and around the world and how to, track who's funding for papers that's based on big tobacco.
Hmm.
But big tech and big supplement need to be part of that program
Yeah.
if the publishers care. Maybe they don't. I
Yeah.
think they
Well, I mean
should.
but that's why science is the ultimate. It was invented to orient us toward reality, right?
Hmm.
Instead of stating a belief and then creating a belief cult around it and trying
Yeah.
to, create a new religion or a splinter group or a movement or something like that. You stated your idea as a hypothesis, which you then had to test. And if it failed to test, then you couldn't move forward with that idea, right? That grounded
Hmm.
us in reality in a really important way. And we seem to have slipped that that step, and we're just kind of saying, okay, now you can basically say anything as long as you pay to publish
Hmm.
it, and we won't tell everybody who paid to publish it. You'll have to
Hmm.
figure that out. And whether it's real or not, whether it's science or not, we're going to have a narrative, right? And that's
Yeah,
that's the
and
kind of
I
unreality we're in.
well, yeah. I mean, I think to some degree there are a lot of publishers who will just publish anything,
Hmm.
but most of them are just not going to publish something that they feel is wrong, right? So there's a difference between
Yeah.
is it right or is it not wrong, wrongity, wrong, wrong.
Right. 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 Yeah.
And
I hear
and
you.
so what's the problem? If it's a path, it's a pass through, somebody else might get something from it or not. Um
Yeah.
and so-
But again, if it's open, if it's sprayed out through the automated box of confusion, if it's not
mhm.
monitored, if it's not kept within a community that can evaluate it, that has the skills to do that, then it's not reality based. Then you're starting to get into an unreality zone because
Yeah.
you don't know who's interpreting it or who's misusing it or
Well,
who
that's ex
actually what the motivation actually was. It may look to your editors like, okay, here's a bit of, you know, mediocre science that may or may not matter. But meanwhile, behind the scenes, somebody with a check for $7,000 is going, oh, if they publish this, then I know exactly what I'm going to do next. And I've got my YouTube interview
hmm
set up with the crazy
Yep.
guy, and I've got
I've
my
got
my Substack newsletter ready to go, and I've, blah blah blah, and I'm going to start selling this, new hyperbaric, you know, oleandrin bomb, whatever.
that's exactly right. So I think that's a good way to put it is
You
that
can't be that naive, I guess,
science
is what I'm saying.
but writ large
Hmm.
globally, as part of the ecosystem, scientific publishing is in an unreality zone. And
Right now.
there are a lot of good people who are doing good work trying to keep it on track, but the business models and the outside influences are too much
Yep. All the
to
incentives
to
are
counteract it.
wrong.
And you and I, they can't fire us because we don't work for them, so we get to talk real.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the main messages from from Ben Collins was that it's a lot more fun in the reality zone. A, because your bullshit detector
hmm
remains completely functional,
Yeah.
right? You don't have it. It's not on the fritz half the day.
Right.
Like we have friends who still work in, various places, and you can tell that they're distressed because their detector goes off, but they can't say anything because the fire department is in on it, you know.
Totally. Yeah. No, I totally get it. It's,
So
people
we're
need
we're
to,
happy. We're happy that we
yeah.
can we can we can talk smack, but I think the
But
bigger
we're
issue.
not talking smack. We're
No, we're
talking
not.
real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're keeping it real. But I think that somebody said, I think it was Paris Marx today, had a thought where we're taking apart the institutions that used to do that.
Not the
And that's a
people.
problem because it's divided, united we stand, divided we fall. But if you don't have enough people who are collaborating and are protected and can work together, you've got a problem. I just saw an interview with Ted Danson where he talked about how all the writers on Cheers and Mork and Mindy and all these, Family Ties and all this would like work together on the Paramount lot during the
Hmm.
peak sitcom days, and they would solve each other's joke dead ends, right? Somebody's like,
Mm.
"Oh, we got this setup. I don't know what to do with it." And they're like, "Oh, let's go. We'll brainstorm it out." It's very onion-like, right? You get humans together and they figure stuff out. It's very reality-based. You got to solve a joke problem, all that. But it takes an institution to let those people get together and aggregate and collaborate and figure things out together. And you and I are in communication a lot. We have communications with other people, but if you don't have an institution like the Washington Post or like the New York Times or like a local paper where citizens can come in and talk to you and your reporters can talk to each other and compare notes and you can divvy up work assignments and who's going to cover the town meeting and who's going to cover the police department, and oh, I heard this. You don't have the gossip connections, right?
Hmm.
Which
Yeah,
is
the
so
gossip is
important
the
to
key word.
reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that's Yuval Noah Harari's observation about human superpowers, gossip, and we can't gossip in a very high bandwidth way when we're stuck in these little, you know, uh, digital pockets and tucked away from each other. Because, like I was mentioning to you, I was having a conversation with a student, and we had like probably something that we'll both remember in 30 seconds. Great conversation about,
Hmm.
you know, why you like playing, why it's fun to play songs again and again.
Yeah.
And it was like we totally bonded, and we both walked away from it going, that was cool. That took 30 seconds.
Hmm.
That's how humans should work, right? We should have a lot more exchanges, a lot more influence on each other in a positive way, but we're all separated in this digital imaginary zone. So,
Well, and that's the way that's how human brains work and
yeah,
human physiology works, is that you
right.
could have a 2-second interaction with somebody that could never be replicated on a
Right.
computer, and it doesn't need to be, like
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've done all these, I remember all these studies of like even just the smallest little twitch in an eye or a
yeah.
slight turn of a head or, a little flare of the nostrils or a little dilation of a pupil. You may not notice it at a conscious level, but if you're with somebody and you notice it, you're like, what was that? That
Yeah.
was weird. Or
That's
that
well,
was it. That
that's
was it. It's like, oh, she likes me. Oh, that's interesting. Or whatever it is, right? But you get this a
it's
whole different set of
information
signals, right?
that goes into your brain.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're all for reality and we're glad we're able to be in it all the time. But the other thing I think is so odd, like kind of circling back to the earlier thing about Moltbook, is there's so much recycling in this fantasy world now, this tech fantasy world, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you said, oh, that's like, what was it, Second Life?
Second Life, and then the
It's like
metaverse, and
the
then
metaverse was like
and now it's like
Second Life with
the
64-bit
robots.
characters or whatever, and now it's, whatever. But they're also like resurrecting old grievances too. I mean, this whole RFK Maha thing with the food pyramid, It's like get over your childhood. Nobody paid attention to that over the last
No,
quarter
well, and the
century.
fact that they're like now it's like, yeah, it's the food pyramid and pull-ups. Like, I don't need any of that. I outgrew it a long time ago. I
That's
don't
right. They're
need to
still in junior
like
high.
I do have a pull-up bar and I'm still not good at it, but I don't need RFK Jr. to tell me to practice. Come on.
Right. Well, they're still trying to exercise some personal demons they have. And again, it gets back to Skylar's notice about they're weird.
It's just
That's just so
weird.
weird. And
Yeah.
but with the tech influence, they're like able to cobble these things together into weird like demon spawn of their own personal grievances. It's like that thing where, every accusation is a confession. Every tech
Yeah.
build is an exorcism
Apology.
to themselves. I'll forgive myself if I can get a new food pyramid. I was, but and it's just I mean it's just so weird. It's just so weird. So I'm glad we're able to call it out for what it is. I mean, the fear mongering, the companies, information companies trying to do politics instead of just trying to do business. That's the other
Hmm.
nice thing about the Onion. They're like, yeah, we'll poke fun at everybody when they
Yeah.
need it because that's our
Yeah.
business. But we want to do it so we get more subscribers.
Right, because
That's our
people want to
business.
read it. Yeah.
Yeah, and not because we're trying to influence us, the stock market. And that's the other interesting thing, right? In
Mm.
reality versus fantasy, is a lot of the big publishing companies have been pursuing AI and all these tech fantasies, and their stocks are cratering
Yeah. That
because
I'm glad that you
they don't
brought that
belong in
up.
that world.
Yeah. And I'm not smart enough to understand that kind of, finance outlooks, but it doesn't look good.
Number go down.
All I can say is like number going down is
Yeah.
not good. And doubling down on how much we're investing in AI at the same time that there's a bunch of junk getting pumped out and taken together, it doesn't look good. It's not
No,
too
no,
late. It's not too late, guys. Just turn
no.
it off.
Yeah.
Just take the AI sticker off your product,
Yep.
unplug a couple things,
Get back in touch with your customers and your
get back in touch.
communities.
Yeah, ask
Yeah,
people to
because,
log in, stop giving away stuff for free for no
well,
reason.
I think that what has happened is they've been thinking that if they play along with these tech bullies,
Hmm.
that they'll stop stealing their lunch money.
They're good. They're gonna beat them over the head harder.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
You keep bringing lunch
yeah,
money, they're going to keep taking it. They're extractive
yeah,
businesses. They're
yeah.
extracting everything you've done. And that's all they do. And they extract it into a layer that you can't access because they like black boxes. So you're sitting ducks if you don't get back to reality.
Hmm.
And reality is science. So all the leadership people and governance people, please give yourself go to a sauna, go have a deep soak in a really hot tub and let the improved blood flow to your brain
And and
have a
and
revelation.
and get a print subscription to The Onion.
Yes, I will put a link to that too. So, all right. Well, that was kind of our reality check, we'll call it.
Yeah.
And do you want to have some discovery of the week?
Yes, I've discovered something. How
All
about
right, here
you?
we go. I've got one too. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, discoveries of the week, Joy. Looks like you're up.
All right. So I had a couple of discoveries, and I wasn't sure which one to focus on, but I thought I would go for something that was tangible. So,
Hmm,
how do you feel about the color orange?
I like it. It's
You
Dutch.
like it?
It's,
It's that okay. So you have an
that's an
association.
association. I have Dutch and citrus. Those are my associations.
Yeah, and citrus is
Is
pleasing.
refreshing and pleasing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a pleasant color.
Yeah. Some
And
people think it,
emergencies. Yeah,
yeah,
traffic cones.
that's true. Yeah.
Okay. Anyhow, that's it.
So I bring it up because the stuff you should know, guys.
Mm,
Their podcast this morning was a short one about the psychology of colors
mm,
and the associations we have with colors based on cultural norms as well as like personal preferences. So
mm-hmm,
some people think that orange is disgusting, other people think that red is scary, and
mm-hmm,
that, you know, in Japan they think blue and green are calming,
mm-hmm,
and whether or not you should wear black or white or purple to a funeral depends on your cultural background. So
mm-hmm.
that was a nice little, you know,
So,
timeout.
yeah, question on that because I had an interesting discussion with a student at the School of Rock yesterday about this, about colors. Did they talk about synesthesia?
They didn't. This was a short one, but I think
Okay,
I'm sure they've probably written
talked
or
about it
spoken
before.
about synesthesia before, where you confuse like your senses get like
Yeah,
you can smell a color or
yeah. So one
hear
of my
a
students who
yeah.
is like, she started with me when she was 9 and was, a kind of a, quiet kid, super smart. But now she's 11 and she's like a total rock star. And it's just so funny to watch that happen. But anyhow, she's like, I have a friend who can taste colors.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, what's that like? And she's like, well, I asked her what blue tastes like. And she said, like the ocean smells.
Ooh.
And I'm like, that would be such a weird experience, such an interest. I don't know that I wouldn't like it. I think I might like
So
it.
like unpack that for a second. What does the color blue taste like
Right.
is how the ocean smells. So that's all the senses
Right.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Wouldn't that be
crazy.
amazing? I don't know if
Yeah.
I could take it. I don't know if I'd like it or not like it or adjust to it. It's just I'm gonna have to do a rabbit hole on that one, and I'll probably find out that orange has. I wonder what. Yeah, because I had a friend in college who had that too. It was crazy,
Mhm.
and he it was I think it was difficult for him to maintain sometimes when there was like in like a club or something where there's a lot of colors changing.
Yeah.
It's like he wanted to be like in like monochromatic. Let me get. I want to have my olfactory,
It's like
you
being a
know,
super taster,
fatigue set in.
right?
Yeah, right,
Like, but with all of your senses.
right. Yeah.
It's yeah. Hmm.
My gosh. Well, that took us down a start
Well,
of a rabbit hole.
I'm glad you like orange and we got into that. What did you discover this week?
Now I've got a new association with orange synesthesia. So I found a really good book. It's
Uh-huh.
right here. It's called The Ransomware Hunting Team.
Okay.
And it's by a friend of mine, Daniel Golden, who's a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. But I didn't really appreciate the fact that he's totally awesome. He's just a super nice guy and really smart journalist. But
Mm-hmm.
anyhow, and another reporter, Renee Dudley from ProPublica. And I
Oh.
didn't know about the book, and I'm kicking myself because there's one of the more interesting first initial stories in it is how ransomware was invented by a crazy guy from Harvard, I think, who who used AIDS education materials to send a virus out a ransomware virus out to people in the 1989, 88, 89 timeframe. And so
Wait. Hold on. He used AIDS
education.
health information to
Yeah.
spread a virus,
Yes.
a
I know.
computer virus.
This is such a story, right?
Wow.
Yeah, I know. So I know. It just I'm just like I really wish I'd come across we tried to cover the beat the bushes for all the materials, but I'm like, oh, this would have been a really good sentence in the book, right?
Mm.
Because ransomware originated with a researcher in Africa who was trying to make a buck by using age education to spread a virus. And it's like medical information has been kind of the Trojan horse for bad stuff for a long time. And
Hmm.
it just hit me at so many levels. Like you said, just the irony of it, a virus being spread when people are trying to learn about how to treat AIDS patients. That's terrible. But, all the things that it led to and how it was just a crazy story. But it's a great book. they write so well,
Oh,
and
cool.
yeah, it's a great read, and I just would recommend it. So the ransomware hunting team is my discovery of the week.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah, because
I'm gonna
there's
go.
this whole volunteer core of people who are issuing ransomware fixes around the clock, and they're doing it just because they want to make the world right, because they're fighting the fantasy world of,
Hmm.
you know, hijacking your fake computer to get real money, and they want to give you a real fix. So yeah, they're trying to fix the world. All right.
All right. That's
So
awesome.
yeah, I recommend that book if you get to the library and pick it up. Um, all right, so
Will
that's
do.
it. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to our friends at Provoke the Truth for the music. If you have topics you want us to cover, please email us at disruptedscience@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. You can also keep up with developments at the Geyser, where you can subscribe to support our efforts. And thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone. See you later.